Do you go to church? If so, what church do you attend and how regularly do you attend that church?
Yes, I go to church. Like, what did you ask? What church did I go to?
Yeah.
Like denomination and the name of my church.
Both.
Okay, it's in Portuguese, so it's an Assembly of God church, and it's called. I'm just gonna translate it. Life Church.
How long have you been attending church for?
Forever.
Have you ever attended a church service where the topic of discussion or the topic of the sermon was about racism?
Does chapel count?
Yeah.
And then chapel.
Do you remember what that sermon was about?
Okay. No.
Okay.
That's so bad.
Do you think it's a problem that pastors, priests, and other spiritual leaders avoid talking about racism?
I guess like nowadays, not I guess, it's like a huge problem, and it might be like within the community, like depending on how diverse your church is. So in that case, I think it's definitely important. Even if actually your church isn't diverse, I think it's a very hot topic, and it's something that everyone should be aware of.
Do you think that pastors avoid talking about race on purpose?
I don't think so. At least, like, like, the church I go to is Brazilian, and Brazilians come in all shapes and colors and sizes. So, like, that being said, that isn't really such a huge thing, at least at my church. So I feel like, pastors become more preoccupied with, like, preaching, like, from the Bible, if that makes sense, versus, like, current events. I don't know.
Do you think it produces major confrontation and underlying conflict among congregations?
Racism?
Yes.
Basically, if racism is a problem in the congregation?
Yeah, and if like how pastors like don't really address it, like how does that cause conflict and tensions?
I think racism can be a huge thing in congregation. Again, I think it depends on the church you go to. Like, if your church is more conservative, like, if there's no diversity, then obviously, like, that might be something to address. Whereas I feel like, I don't know. Wait, what was the question?
Do you think it produces major confrontation and underlying conflict among congregations?
I think so, especially if a church isn't used to having, like, people from different race and ethnicities. Yeah.
Can you think of any examples of any confrontations that this topic produces?
Any example where, like, racism produces conflicts within the church?
Yes.
I guess I can think of more of, like, prejudice, like, versus, like cultures and stuff. Like, I know people, like, in Latin America, and even, like, a lot of, like, black churches, their worship style is way more open than, like, white people. Not all of them, but, like, I feel like, they're just more expressive. So, like, sometimes people who, like, aren't from those cultures are like, what? Like, I know, like, like, they'll, like, incorporate dancing into their worship, and I know, like, some denominations, like, dancing is a bad thing. So, like, that's an example how, like, that can conflict, like, just different cultures. And then, like, relating to members, like, if you have somebody who just doesn't believe in racism, then they can't really relate to a member in the congregation who's going through that.
Would you say there are any benefits about talking about racism in a church service?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of benefits, because it's challenging, like, the whole love your neighbor. Like, to what extent is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Like, it's easy to say, like, like racism doesn't exist when you're not surrounded by your neighbors who are facing racism, when you don't have those interactions with people who are going through that. And also, like, what was the question?
What are the benefits of talking about racism?
Yeah, so it like helps, have those difficult conversations. First off, like I feel like the church should be leading kind of being advocates for people who people who are a victim of racism. 'Cause it's like in the Bible, like to like love your neighbors, love everyone. So we should be leading by example. So I think it's very important for the church to address that, and there's a lot of benefits. Yeah.
Would this cause any problems?
Talking about racism?
Yes.
Oh, definitely. 'Cause not everyone's on the same page, like in a church, like you have people from everywhere go in there, like you have even like people who aren't Christian or religious stepping in that building. So like there's a lot of opinions in one room, so it's bound to be, there's always someone to disagree with you.